Today is exciting. I'm here with former ACW Tag Team champs Richard King and Jay Sky. They are the longest running WXW Tag Team champs in history, with holding the title with 392 days. This phenomenal duo has trained under the WWE Hall of Famer Alpha the Wild Samoan. King and Sky have come face to face with heavy hitters such as the Metro Brothers, Culture Inc., and Stevie Richards. Now I have this amazing opportunity to bring you face to face in their world. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to answer a couple questions and to get into the world of what exactly you do. So Richard and Jay, I guess I just want to start at the beginning. And how old were you when you got into wrestling?
So I was about, this was even after I did a little bit of college, but I was around like 21, 22. Started training around then. That's where I really wanted to pursue wrestling. It's always been a dream of mine, so I thought it was important to start then, and yeah.
And what about you, Richard?
I've always kind of liked wrestling. I grew up with it in the house. There are like pictures around here of like me with all these like different belts and stuff. But I kind of fell out of love with it for a while, but then I would say around sophomore year of high school, I started getting back into it, and then when I was 16, I found a place to train, and I've been doing it ever since.
So you said when you were young, because your father showed me a picture of you pretty young. Let's see, right over there. So you look pretty young there. How old were you? Maybe like 9, 10, younger than that?
Probably, yeah, around that. Yeah.
Okay. And were you wrestling like in matches and whatnot, or just at home for fun, or what was that like?
I was wrestling with my dad. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, very cool. So what are all these belts from? Are these like toy belts?
Yeah, those are all like the WWE belts from the time. A lot of those are like defunct by now. Yeah, like they switch them. Yeah, most of the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so 16, you just, you liked it as a kid and just decided, I guess, when someone wants to wrestle, how do they decide that, like, what do you do?
It's kind of like college, maybe.
Yeah.
You just don't. Yeah, you just don't pay as much. You don't go as long. You find a school with what exactly you're looking for, someplace close, and then you just start training. It's kind of like when you go for the football team or the basketball team. There aren't necessarily tryouts all the time, but you go, you train, you have a weekly schedule, and then once you're ready, once your trainer thinks you're ready, then you debut on a show, and you just go from there.
Very cool. So how did you guys meet?
Weird. We always talk about this. It's super weird because we actually started training the exact same month, the exact same year.
Oh,
so
wow,
like,
okay.
Yeah,
but you didn't know each other?
We didn't know each other.
Oh,
no.
okay.
So we started training the exact same time, and so we were always like in class. We were right there with each other as far as like skill level, and eventually we just started, like talking, hanging out, and we actually debuted on the same show as a tag team, and we traveled to that show, and it kind of started from there, actually.
So with being a tag team, were you guys each other's first partners then? As a
Yeah, it's weird.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and so talking about your training, are there certain trainers in your life that have had a huge impact on you, have really had a big influence on you, and if so, who are those trainers?
We've been with WXW for over a year now, and yeah, almost 2.
Yeah.
And we just learned a lot from Alpha the Wild Samoan, and it's just such a great place to learn. If you can't learn there, then you might as well quit the business, because it's like the holy grail, at least in Florida, when it comes to learning. So I would contribute a lot of our stuff to there. We've done stuff with Matt Seidel. We've done stuff with Lindsay Dorado. And all of that, just different styles and different ideas have just built us to where we are now.
What is a typical day for the two of you as wrestlers? What is a day in your life like?
Recently, I've started going to the gym more, so I try to go to the gym right after work, and then I usually just try to eat right now, and then try to sleep. I don't get enough sleep usually, so yeah, and then you can go over.
A day when we have a show, it's usually getting up early, extra early, heading to the gym, getting all that in, coming back, and then getting straight on the road, getting to the show just as call time is. Never early. Having our match, and then usually either heading back straight home or going to a hotel, and then waking up again the next morning, heading to the next town and the next town, and stuff like that, yeah.
That sounds exciting, but also pretty exhausting. So you guys are traveling a lot then, because you don't just have shows in Florida. It's pretty. I know you said you're in Georgia a couple weeks ago, and so are you just traveling pretty much all the time?
So like before COVID happened, or because it's still happening right now, but we had like a whole bunch of shows lined up. Then we were like so excited. We were like traveling to Indiana, Georgia. We traveled to Pensacola a whole lot too, and that kind of put it at a halt. But now things are getting a little better. Things are opening back up, so a lot of those same promotions are calling us back to try to travel over there. So we're doing more traveling now than we did just like a couple months ago. So it's pretty good.
So speaking of COVID, because everyone kind of had to readjust. There's all these plans for 2020, and then March happens, and we have to adapt quickly. So in your field with wrestling, what have the changes been since the pandemic has started?
So when stuff kind of started to open up a little bit, we were doing these things called Punk Pro secret shows, and they were basically tapings for YouTube where we had no audience and no crowd, and it was just for us to get back in the ring and like get the feel of stuff, and then also have something that we could put out to people so they could watch during the pandemic. But it's been different because there's such a huge part of wrestling is like interacting with fans.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Like,
it's that actor-audience relationship or wrestler-audience relationship.
It's making that connection, and now once the show's over, it's just like you got to just stay in the locker room till everybody's gone, because you really aren't allowed or shouldn't be interacting with, the fans.
Right.
So there's still that disconnect that I feel just hasn't come back yet, and that's probably gonna be there for a while now.
What kind of challenges as a wrestler do you face? Obviously, there are the 2020 challenges, but if we take the 2020 challenges and just kind of shelf them for now, because that's kind of a whole separate world. What challenges do you face as wrestlers?
I think it's a lot of like pressure within yourself. Me and Richard were like really hard on each other when we're wrestling. We'll look back at a match, and if we don't think it's good, we're like right there. We're like, bro, we gotta work harder, get better at this. Just stuff like that. As far as like match quality, we always look at as far as like fan reaction too. Make sure like the fans are always like, loud and excited to watch us there.
They're enjoying it.
Exactly. Yeah. So like stuff like that. As far as that aspect of it, there's also the aspect of just trying to like stay in shape or like be in shape. I know as far as me, I got a little out of shape during COVID. I'm trying to, get back into the groove. Richard over here looking like $1 million, so he carries it. So.
I thought, how there's like the freshman 15. I'm like, oh, it's the COVID 20.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
COVID 20. Thanks, 2020. Okay, so what if someone wanted to get into wrestling? Let's say there's a 10-year-old that wants to get into wrestling. What would be your advice to them? What should they do?
I would say get into amateur.
Okay.
Most schools offer it, I feel, nowadays, and if their schools doesn't specifically, there's probably a league somewhere that they can join. Just be active. Like if you're not specifically wanting to do amateur, if shoot isn't your style and you just want to do pro eventually, football, baseball, just being athletic. I know specifically NXT looks at that a lot. If you have a great athletic record, they'll look at that and go, okay, well maybe you're not a pro wrestler, but you're athletic, so we'll look at that. So I'd say that, just being athletic, staying active.
So what did you guys play any sports growing up? I know you said, because you got into it in your early 20s, and you said you got back into it really at 16. So did you do any athletics prior to getting into wrestling more full-time?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't play for school or anything. I played a recreational league. I played a lot of basketball. There was this league that I started playing at towards like the end of like my senior year. So I started playing there. I started like wising up to it, so I started coaching some different like little kids and stuff like that. So different teams, we did that for about like 4 years, I want to say. And then that's when I stopped playing basketball and started wrestling. I decided to do that just because I did have a lot of ankle injuries from playing basketball. So I was like, yeah, I got to choose one or the other, and I choose wrestling. So, yeah.
I did football for most of middle school, and then I kind of fell out of just like doing sports, and I was just going to the gym and stuff. And then it was my junior year, I was 15, I started doing amateur at high school because I was trying to do pro immediately. But the trainer that I was looking at, the school I was looking at, they're like, you're too young, let's wait till you're 16 and then you can come. So I did that, and I trained shoot there, and like you, I did like a summer of like teaching like Little League, kind of. And then I got into pro, and you know, here we are. Yeah.
For wrestlers that are in amateur and they want to go to pro, what advice do you have for them?
If they want to do it, just do it. Yeah.
For audience members but that may not be as familiar with wrestling, and there's kind of the stereotype of, oh, it's not real, it's all fake, and you know, what are they really doing anyway? I guess what would you like to say to those type of people that they have it in their head that wrestling's fake and it's maybe not as hard as clearly it is, and the amount of training and effort and working out that takes to really commit to wrestling amateur or full-time professionally. What would you like to say to those people?
So I feel like I love this question too, because like people always think, oh, wrestling's fake and this and that, and as you can see, like in the match that's like playing behind us, a lot of things can happen in the ring where people can get hurt, and it takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of practice. So to the people that call it fake, I wouldn't necessarily call it fake. It's more of a scripted play in a sense. Or like if you go to Universal or SeaWorld and you watch a show or something like Indiana Jones, you're seeing a stunt show.
Right.
So that's basically the best way to put that experience, and it's more interactive than that too. So
there is a lot of theatrics to it. It is like a show, but like stuntmen, it takes an immense amount of training and choreography and working together. I mean, what is it like working with each other, and how much trust do you have to have with your teammates?
I mean, you basically have to have, you know, you trust your life with that other person you're working with. There's a lot of stuff where just something goes wrong, you get dropped on your head, you get dropped on your neck, and then, you know, best case scenario, you have to get surgery. Worst case scenario, you're done.
Yeah.
So it's like that, but we try our best to make it look believable, but we also try our best to protect ourselves. So you gotta walk this gray line of like, we're gonna take each other to hell and back, but let's do it as safely as possible. Let's hit each other where tomorrow it's gonna be sore, but we're not gonna have to go get x-rays, you know, or MRIs to make sure we're not messed up for life.
Right.
So it's that gray line of like, again, it's not fake, it's scripted, but it's very real in the sense that we're making the contact, we're taking the bumps, and by the time we're 40, we're not gonna be walking right.
Right. And I bet the next day after your shows, you're feeling it. It doesn't feel fake.
No, yeah.
we hate to put this analogy, but it kind of feels like you're in a car crash.
Yeah, I bet, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how it feels. That's definitely how it feels.
Have either of you experienced any injuries during a show? I mean, obviously you get bruised and beat up, but have you ever broken anything or a tooth fallen out or anything like that?
Thank God.
No? Okay,
yeah. We don't want to jinx that either, right. But yeah, we try to work we try to work as safe as possible, and if we know something seems a little off, we speak up about it, and we kind of avoid doing stuff like that. So
I've broken my nose in training. I broke it.
Oh, dang.
And then I bite my tongue on the regular.
yeah.
Yeah.
Since your tongue always bleeding.
Oh yeah. It happened 2 weeks ago. I bit it on both sides. I couldn't eat solid food for a week.
Oh.
Yeah. I have a mouth guard. I should wear it. I don't though.
So there's nothing fake about that, like
No.
not having to, I can't eat solid foods for weeks. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So what has been the most memorable show that you've had? Has there been one that you're like, man, that was awesome, and we killed it, and if we could have every show like this, that's how we'd want it to have. Have you experienced that yet?
We had a match with these guys, Lucha Locura and Ray Fury, up in Pensacola, like right before the pandemic started. It was in February, I think.
Yeah.
And it was in a brewery, and the crowd was so hot.
Oh my God.
They just, like, anything we did, they were just going crazy for it. And that's just like the perfect wrestling crowd. Like, they're here, they're into it, they're interacting, and then the match itself just went so perfectly. You can't ask for like a better night, you know?
You just had to feel amazing after
Yeah,
that.
it was great, yeah.
It's like a perfect combination of everything. they're feeding off of what we're doing, and we're feeding off of how loud they're reacting, and then the match just went beautifully. So it was just awesome. Yeah.
I'm so just thrilled to be able to chat with you today. Before we kind of end everything, is there anything else that you'd like to say to your fans right now, or any advice you'd like to give to any up-and-coming fighters?
I think advice-wise, definitely if you do want to do this, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be grueling, mentally, physically, mentally times 2. It definitely is a mental game. There's a lot of factors that involve it, and you know, we see people that we've even trained with that start out with us and then they don't keep doing it because it's there. It's definitely grueling. So, but if you stick with it, I think you definitely you know, get out the work that you put in. So it's definitely worth it for sure.
Nothing worth it is ever easy. That's what I say. Like if it's worth it, it's going to be a challenge. But then if it's worth it, and you know, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. So. Well, thank you so much. I hope you guys get to rest a little bit, but continue to train. So you guys are all ready when the world opens up, and you guys are ready to do all your shows around the country. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.